Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at the Thermaltake Toughpower GF3 1200w Snow Edition PCI Express Gen5 ATX 3.0 power supply. What a mouthful. So this is a new power supply from our good friends at Thermaltake. Winter is definitely coming, and it certainly is here in the United Kingdom. The weather is kicking up, and snow is on its way, and it certainly is with Thermaltake. There's a new range of power supplies, both the GF3 and the GF3 versions, now available in the snow varieties. We'll put links for those in the video description, so you want to check them out. If you're wondering what the difference is between the GF3 and the GF3 is done to a slightly lower budget, so if you want to save a few quid, then certainly that might be an option for you. But both of them are very glamorous in their new white snow outfits, and they look pretty darn good. And obviously if you're doing a white build and you want a white power supply just to match it all, then this could be just the ticket for you, especially if you've got a modern graphics card such as an RTX 4090, 4080, 4070, etc, and you're using that new PCI Express Gen5 connector for your GPU. Or maybe you've got a modern platform which supports ATX 3.0, in which case this is going to cover the bill very, very nicely. So in today's video, go through, do a quick drill down of the specifications, take a look at what we actually get, take a look at the cabling, the lengths, etc, and talk about some of the very cool features, talk about pricing, and then essentially it's going to be down to you whether or not you pick one up or not. So let's start off with what this is all about, taking a look at the packaging. So you can see this is part of the Toughpower range. This is the GF3 1200w. GF3 available in various different wattages as well. So if maybe the 1200 is a little bit less than what you wanted, you can get higher and you can go lower as well if you don't need quite such an elaborate amount of wattage available to you. As it says on the box there, so it is PCI Express Gen5, we've said that numerous times already, ATX 3.0, so between those two specifications that actually does mean something. There is actually a meaning behind this new standard. It does use less wattage in general, so the efficiency is better, and also we don't have problems with vampire power, with leakages, etc, which we had on the previous ATX 2.0 standards. Something else to consider as well is power excursions. Now this is really important for the modern ATX 3.0 and PCI Express Gen 4 and Gen 5 graphics cards that are on the market at the moment. They do like to use those power excursions, and that is where the component will draw more power than it's actually rated for a very small millisecond. It's known as a transient spike, and with this you can have ATX 3.0 loads over 2 times the rated wattage, and when it comes to graphics cards it will actually deal with a power excursion of up to 3 times the rated wattage. So yeah, it is going to be helpful for those instances where possibly an older power supply, one that doesn't support these features, may trip out or may cause blue screens of death or just jitter or lag in your gaming, which obviously none of us want. So this is made for all modern GPUs, so whether you've got a single 8-pin, a dual 8-pin, a triple 8-pin, or the new 16-pin NVIDIA style connection, PCI Express Gen 5.0, this is going to have you covered, no problems at all. Also, it supports the Smart Zero fan technology, so fans are obviously one of those things where a lot of people do get upset by them, the noise of them, the noise profile, etc. This has got a smart switch on it, so if you do want the power supply to be as silent as possible, you can enable the Smart Zero fan, or if you want it to run as normal, then you certainly can do. Generally, it will kick in at somewhere around about 20% of the rated load of the power supply. So for this, you're looking at somewhere just over 200 watts. Anything under that, the fan will not move at all. And part of the reason why it can do that is because of the quality components inside. So this is using 100% high quality Japanese capacitors rated to 105C. For those of you that are interested, the OEM for this particular unit in conjunction with Thermaltake is a company called HKC. You can check those out online. They're a pretty decent OEM when it comes to power supplies. And obviously to back up that, Thermaltake are putting their money where their mouth is, or potentially putting your money where their mouth is, and they're offering a 10-year warranty on there. So should you get any problems within 10 years of ownership, then essentially you'll either get it replaced or a equivalent model provided for you. Excellent stuff. On the side of the packaging, it talks about the fully modular design and also that PCI Express Gen5 connector, which I've mentioned once or twice already. On the other side, it's talking about the smart fan technology again. And on the back of the box, it drills into some of the specifications, the cable configuration and lengths, and goes into great depth on things like the 80+ gold certified efficiency. So showing that it is actually gold for US rated as well. So if you're on the 115 or 110 voltage, then obviously for those of us in the UK and the EU and other countries which are using like 220, 230, 240, we are going to get significantly better results, which is always a good thing. And something which I haven't mentioned yet is the extremely tight voltage regulation. So as you can see there, we are looking at less than 2% in terms of regulation, whereas the ATX 3.0 standard from Intel actually only requires up to 5%, so this is dramatically dropping that. And when it comes to the low ripple or low noise design, this is under 30 millivolts. On the actual output specifications, so we've got 130 watts combined for the 3 and 5 volt rails. You've also got a single 12 volt rail, which is capable of putting out over 100 amps. So yeah, that is pretty spectacular. I think that's enough for that. Let's take a look and see what we actually get. So as you'd expect from Thermaltake, excellent packaging as always. So you get a little baggie here with some Velcro on there to keep all your cables tidy. So obviously in a build, you're probably not going to use all the cables, being this is fully modular. So you can use as many or as little cables as necessary, but you can store those away tidily in a little bag there. And also the power supply comes in its usual sheath, which is nice for unveiling the power supply, and this is it in its full glory. I think it looks absolutely amazing in this really nice white color. It's a slightly more blue-white than you sometimes see from some products, which tend to go a little bit more of a creamy white. I think it should fit in quite nicely with most aesthetics, and you can see the camera's having a hard job there. It is very, very bright indeed. So let's take a closer look at the power supply. So you can see on this side, we've got the Toughpower logo, also some ventilation on the sides there. On the back, 2 switches, one of which is for your main power on and off, nice clicky switch. And also you've got the zero fan or zero smart fan, so you can turn that function on or off. If you're not too sure which position it should be in, just read the label on there, it'll tell you exactly what it does, and obviously you can choose which you prefer yourselves. All of the Thermaltake power supplies these days are in this really nice kind of mesh effect with the elongated ovals on there. I like the look of these a lot, I think they look really smart. On the top section, or bottom, depending which way you're mounting it, you've got a Thermaltake logo there, dead in the center. And also, to keep in with this snow theme, they've also got a white fan in there. Now the fan is a fluid dynamic bearing fan, obviously smart control, as we said earlier. And it is a 140mm fan, so nice big fan on there to move plenty of air to keep this thing nice and cool, especially when you're drawing that considerable amount of wattage. When it comes to the business end of the power supply, so this is the fully modular section. So as you can see, no captive cables whatsoever, options to plug in whichever you want to, and obviously they're all labeled up nice and easily to see. So you've got your CPU or PCIe ones there, top and bottom, 4 of those in total. You've got your 12 volt high power connection for the PCI Express Gen 5, so that is there, nice in the middle. You've also got peripheral and SATA connections, and obviously you've got your 24 pin main connection as well. So it's all nicely labelled, nice and easy to use. On the top we've got the badge giving you all the info, which we've pretty much seen from the box, but I'll give you a close up so you can see the voltages on the rails, etc. And also something else which I noticed, there is a warranty void if removed sticker. So clearly I had to take that screw out of there and have a look inside. And taking a look inside, we are greeted with possibly one of the largest caps I've ever seen in my entire life for a power supply. It's freaking huge. That is a massive capacitor, so that should do a pretty good job of evening out the ripple in the power, if there's any deviations, anything like that. And it all looks to be very well made. Now obviously, I am not a scientist and I don't have the necessary equipment to test this as you would on things like Gamers Nexus, etc. But from what I can tell, it looks like a very well put together unit. And again, the OEM that they use on this, which is HKC, do appear to do a very good job in the industry. Other accessories which are included, which I haven't mentioned yet, you do get a suitable power lead for your particular region, and there's a bunch of cable ties should you need them, and also screws for attaching the power supply to your case. Next, we're going to get to the bit where Kath falls asleep, where I go through the lengths of the cables and the specifications, so we'll take a look at those now. So first of all, we've got the 24-pin power connection, so this is the main connection to your motherboard. Something they've done on this I really like to see is the fact that they haven't split it for the 20+4, so it is a solid cable, a lot easier to install, like that a lot. And also you've got this nice flat white cabling as well to fit in with your snow theme build, and all these are nicely flattened together, so should be very easy to cable manage. When it comes to the actual length of this, we're looking at 600mm in total. Next up, we'll take a look at the EPS connectors, or these are your additional power for your processor, the one that normally nestles in the top left-hand corner, which is normally an absolute nightmare to get to, which leads me on to another thing. So they include 2 cables for this, so there's 2 outputs on the power supply. you have the choice of having the solid 8-pin, which is all put together already. That's great. And also it does say CPU actually on the cable, so you can't really mess it up too much. If for some reason you've got a motherboard which has got a 4-pin and 8 pins, you do have the split version of the EPS cable. So that is just held together and you can just snap that apart and then just use the 4-pin should you wish to. This is great because normally it's in a really hard place to get to. Most motherboards only need an 8-pin, so you do have the choice of having the either solid one or using the split one. Choice is yours. I will always go with the solid one. It makes life a lot easier. But moving on, we've got the PCI Express connection. So this is going to be for your traditional or legacy graphics cards as they are becoming. So you do have 3 cables included. So one of which, I like this a lot, is actually a single 8-pin or 6+2. So if you don't want to have a ton of cabling, maybe your graphics card only needs a single 8-pin connector, you can limit the wiring to just a single cable. So that's pretty nice. There's actually 5 connections in total over the 3 cables. The other 2 cables both have the piggybacks on them. So if you want to use just 3 cables, because you've got a graphics card that needs 3 8-pins, you can use 3 separate cables. So obviously no overheating and things like that. Generally these days, most of the time, especially with Thermaltake power supplies and their quality cabling, you can piggyback these and not experience any problems. But obviously, if you do want to use individual cables, you obviously can do. Or maybe you just want to use a single cable for a dual 8-pin. The choice is entirely yours, but this will cover pretty much every graphics card on the market over this selection of 4 cables. When it comes to the traditional SATA plugs, so you've got 8 plugs in total over 2 cables. So again, similar sort of deal, nice long cable there. This actually is, I think, 500mm from the plug of the power supply to the first cable, and then you've got 150 between each additional plug, and there's 4 in total on each cable. So you get 2 of those, so up to 8 SATA devices can be connected. Next up, we've got our Molex connectors. Now, I know they're not technically Molex connectors. Molex is a brand, but a lot of people know these. So these are your 4-pin Molex or peripheral connectors, basically old hard drive style connectors. Some components still use these to this day. They do allow you to deliver more power through a Molex connector rather than a SATA. So some controllers and hubs, etc. will use these. Again, similar sort of deal. So you've got 4 connections on each cable, and you have 2 cables included, so up to 8 devices. Also, I should mention for those of you out there that actually need this type of connection, and maybe if you've got actually Thermaltake RGB equipment, their hubs use this connector. So this is the old school floppy drive connector, and it has a Molex adapter on there. Also, one of these is included should you need it. And last but not least, the star of the show. I'm not sure why I didn't do this one first, to be honest with you, because this is the one that most people are going to be looking at. So this is your 600W PCI Express Gen 5 12 plus 4-pin connection, which no doubt they'll change the name of by the time this video goes out, but there you go, that is the way it rocks. So this one, 600mm in length, so nice and long there, so regardless of where your graphics card is in your computer, this is going to be absolutely fine. It's going to travel a lot. A lot of people worry about this because the fact that the cables are a little bit on the stiff side. Now, something which I like that they've done on this, especially on this Snow edition, not only is the cabling very flat and very high quality, it also bends very well. Now, that is something which is often a problem with this type of connector. We've all seen it in the headlines for the tech news where these have caught on fire because they've not been inserted correctly, or they've been bent on an angle and some of the pins have come out. This they've used actually quite supple cabling on, so actually the bend radius is pretty good. So you can get it right round, almost in a corkscrew there. So the bend is actually very close, and it doesn't appear to move the pins on the inside whatsoever. So they've done a good job of that. And because there isn't some sort of sheathing around this, or cable ties or anything holding the cables to make them flex more than what they would naturally do when you bend them, it works very well. And they've actually increasingly added a little bit of extra length, it appears to me, actually on the top lot of cabling rather than the bottom. I can't actually confirm that because it's only going to be millimeters, but it does seem to naturally want to bend round to the correct angle for your graphics card, which is excellent news, especially for those that may be slightly concerned about this type of connector, which, if NVIDIA get their way, it is going to be the almost the default connection for graphics cards in the coming years. However long that standard lasts for, when we start seeing PCI Express Gen 5 graphics cards actually on the shelves, maybe they will all be defaulting to this because it is that new standard. Who knows? As always, time will definitely tell. Anyway, so I've rattled on for way too long already. There's all the information about the cables, the power supply, etc. If you feel there's anything that I've missed, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. Or alternatively, use the links. There will be links to Thermaltake website and also various retailers that will have these for sale. Pricing wise at the moment, here in the UK, looks like launch price for this is somewhere in the region of about 150 to 160 pounds. Obviously, as always, do shop around. With inflation and yeah, all that other stuff, prices do fluctuate quite a lot. But there will be sales coming up, as there always are, from Scan specifically, coming up to the Amazon Day sales, which will be coming out October 10th and 11th. So no doubt all the other retailers will be having their sales as well to coincide with that. Then of course we've got Black Friday as well. And then we've got obviously Christmas sales. So if you do want to pick up one of these for winter, now seems to be a pretty good time to do it, even though power supply prices on the whole are pretty awful. You may still be able to pick up a deal for your winter power supply. So there you go, that has been the Thermaltake Toughpower GF3 1200w PCI Express Gen 5 ATX 3.0 compliant power supply. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.